Hey guys, it's Jim Warrior, and it is time for another YouTube Pagan Challenge. This is week 18, and it is basically what does God mean to you? What's your definition of God? What's your views on God? Ramble about God. So, let's do it. God is, to me, or deity, or whatever you want to call the higher forces, gods, anything, whatever. We get what we're talking about here. To me, gods and God, blah blah blah, is everything that is unfathomable. To me, deity is the mystery, which is a concept I talked about before, and I think that there is, stuff, lighting change. There is stuff that is unknowable. Um, and unfathomable. So I think that there's stuff that even if you were to learn it, if you were to be told something, you still wouldn't be able to comprehend it. And I think that a part of that is deity. That's why we see deity in so many forms. There's so many gods and goddesses that we literally don't have counts of them, and that we lose some of them to history and memory. I do and I don't at the same time. And this is where the paradox comes into with it. I do and do not believe that all gods are the same God. Um, I don't know if I can break that down and explain it. Let's see. I do think that all the gods come from the same energy source. They're all essentially the same force of like nature. This guiding force that we learn from, this archetypal energy. But at the same time, I think that all the gods and goddesses are their own distinct energies and are very different and unique and hold their own teachings. So in that sense that they're not all the same, and they can come from different places and different energies and forces. But at the same time, I think they all boil down to one energy, to one essence, to one force of nature, to one deity, if you want to say that. So it's kind of like in Hinduism. There's Brahma, but then within Brahma, there are thousands of gods, but they all essentially stem from that energy of Brahma, that energy source. So for me, it's kind of like the gods, all of the gods of mythology, um, come from kind of the fifth element, the fifth element on the pentacle. To me, that's what God is. It's the spirit, it's Akasha, it's ether, it's whatever you want to call it. Ki, chi, prana. Um, that's what God is. And then it just takes all these forms that live independently on their own and can exist independently. So they are separate, but they're also connected, if that makes sense. Um, but I also believe that because they are essentially an elemental force, deity is basically an elemental force on this pentacle that we have. Um, in that sense, I think that and since we as witches and pagans sculpt and manipulate that energy, I think that we can also create gods. I think a really good example of this is, I forget her name off the top of my head. It's like Romantia, maybe? I might be completely off. But there's a Roman goddess of plumbing who there are no records of her up until they invented plumbing. And suddenly they're like, oh, there's a deity for plumbing. Now, we could say that maybe it was because the goddess was finally able to impart her teachings upon people that are finally ready to hear them. Or we could say that people, the Romans, invented or discovered plumbing in some way, and then we're like, where did this come from? Who resides over this thing? And so they subconsciously created a goddess for it. Now, does that make the goddess any less fake? No, because people thanked her, worshipped her, gave her offerings down their plumbing. I do that too. I work with her uh, quite often, actually. I was gonna say all the time, but I hate when people say that because it's not true. But most of the time when I'm putting something down the drain, I say a little thank you to her. And sometimes I'll pour things, like goods, things that are still good, down the drain just for her, because I like to think the spirit, or any spirits that are involved with keeping my plumbing in working order, because that's awesome. So I do believe we can create deity, but I think that there is deity that already exists without us as well. I don't think that it's all in our heads, and I don't think that we created God. I don't think that man created God. But I think that man helped flesh out God and give it more definitions. Because I think that's what people do. The universe is very chaotic. And yes, it does have a structure and order to it, but it's also extremely chaotic. And I think that we as people, that's what we do. That's why we label everything. We identify everything. We try to bring order to chaos. That is ultimately what humans do. We are light, or not, I don't want to say light workers, because that has a whole other definition in the New Age community. We are like order bringers. We are bringers of order to chaos. Most of us. We're not talking about chaos, obviously, I guess, but that's arguable. That's a whole nother discussion. But whether chaos are truly chaotic, let's not go there. But yeah, we essentially just try to bring structure and order to all things. I mean, this is what the YouTube Pagan Challenge is, essentially. We are bringing order to all these questions. We're organizing our thoughts somewhat, and we're speaking our labels and identifiers for all these questions, right? So God to me is just that. It's chaos and light. It is darkness. It is everything. It's everything. And everything that you will never know. And things that you can't know. That is deity. That is deity. And that's really it. I can't break it down any more than that for you. I like to have a healthy level of not knowing in my life. I don't want to know everything, because I can't know everything. And for me, deity falls into that. I don't have to know everything there is to know about my goddess or my gods. I don't have to know everything. Everything is revealed as you need it and as you can understand it, because you're not going to remember everything anyway. So that's it, you guys. God is everything. Everything beyond our comprehension and within our comprehension. God is, or deity or whatever, cannot be taken out of the equation of the universe, because I think without deity, that energy, the universe would not exist in the form that we know it right now, because it is just another element to me on the pentacle. All right, that's it. That's my response. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it. I enjoy watching you guys' stuff. I always say guys' stuff. I don't always comment and like, I know. But I do always watch your videos. I watch a ton of people's videos. So, that's it, you guys. Namaste, Nashe, and peace out, Girl Scouts.